So it's been a while since I've made a video, so looking at the crazy things going on in the world right now, I thought it was time for an upgrade. And let's start by saying that you can now order your consciousness profile again with PayPal and credit card. The problem was that my PayPal account was frozen, so I used an alternate system with cryptocurrency for a while, but now you can order it again on the website. And before I get into all the coronavirus and what's really going on in the world right now, I want to talk about something that happened to me around 5 months ago. It was back in November last year that I was contacted by a being. And the being called himself Bashar, but I don't know if it actually was the real Bashar or not. That I cannot know at this point, but even Bashar himself has said that many times that he comes through the higher mind. And definitely this thing was the same as the higher mind, or it might as well have been Bashar, because he had the same very profound answers to any questions I had, and also very extremely good sense of humor like Bashar has, and these things. But definitely there was the higher mind in charge of what was going on, and what I can go into detail about a little bit, but not everything that happened, but some of it is too personal, but I can go into some details about some of the things that are relevant for other people. So I will talk a little bit about that. Well, what happened was I was going to bed as normal, and then suddenly as I lie down, I feel like energetically something weird going on in my gut. And I just think, oh no, I have this is bad, I have the stomach flu, and I basically have to go to the toilet for 2-3 hours to empty the whole system out. And then I lie down again and finally want to sleep, and I close my eyes, and the minute I close my eyes I have this inner visions, very strong, and suddenly I can see crystal clear this big screen, and I see myself standing in front of Bashar or Daralanka, channeling Bashar, having a private session, which I never had in real life, but I guess this is an alternative version or reality that they're showing me. And I ask like 10 questions or something, really good questions, and get really good answers, but I cannot remember any of the answers or questions at this time, unfortunately, because a lot of the details are blurry, or not blurry, but some of the details are gone, but some of the things I remember really clearly. But anyway, the vision ends and it becomes like dark again or black again. I don't see any visions anymore, and then I'm approached by this voice, which is outside of my head, like coming closer, and still like maybe half a meter away from me or something, outside of my head. And it's saying, I'm Bashar, I'm gonna be your guide now, and you can ask me anything you want. And then before I get to ask too many questions, he basically says, do you want to meet us? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course, didn't really think too much what that entails, but yes, of course I want to meet them. And then at this point, and through the whole thing, I believed that this was Bashar. I didn't think that it could be only my higher mind or something else, but it was, I thought it was Bashar at this point at least, and then he says to me that, yeah, you can meet us, but the problem is you have some fear in your hearts and in your system. You can't really enter the ship or meet us before you have managed or getting rid of all that fear, but don't worry, we can help you with that. We can take you into the ship, but you have to manage your fear as best you can. Even just to get into the ship, you have to keep it under a certain threshold by focusing on your heart all the time and managing your fear as best you can. And then we can do an operation to remove and cleanse your system while you're in the ship, and then you can meet us. So anyway, okay, I'm ready, I say, and then I feel like my energetic body or astral body is leaving the physical body. So I'm basically feeling like I'm still in bed in one part of me, and then the other part of me is being moved up away from the physical body. And he says, don't worry, you're at two places at the same time, don't worry, just focus on your fear. And as the closer I get to the ship, what I assume is the ship, the more intense the fear becomes, and the harder it becomes to manage it. So they basically take me up and down like many times or several times until I manage to keep the fear in check enough to enter the ship. And I'm inside the ship, I can sense it that I'm inside the ship. It's extremely intense, it's like being in an energetic frying pan or something. And I'm like in a hospital-like room, or like I'm lying on a bed. I can't see anything clearly visually, it's more like a blurry vision. I can see shadows moving around and all these things, but not really anything clear. And he says it's because with all the fear in my system, I cannot meet them, I cannot see them clearly. But they will now operate my system, my energetic system. So they started on the operation, and I'm lying there like managing my fear as best as I can. And it's really, really intense. And I can see this like black goo in my heart area being diminished, or and they get it down to like, they say no, it's 80% gone, but we can only do that today, the rest we'll have to do the next night. So we're going to take it back now. And then I get back into bed, but he is still with me. And it's like having a energetic tennis ball on top of your head, like resting in the crown chakra area. That's how I can sense the connection. And I can basically, now it's morning, I'm off to my regular day, and I can, all the time he's answering my questions. If I had the slightest thought in my head or anything, he will basically step in and answer in really funny ways and profound ways within milliseconds, like almost before I can finish the thought, he'll have an answer. So it's basically like having your own personal Bashar in your head, basically to talk to and answer and ask all sorts of questions. And the whole day is like a big learning session. And he talks a lot about things happening in my past, all these things. Some of things I don't even remember, but things that defined who I am today. And Bashar has talked about recently about the 2020 is when people are going to have 2020 vision, and that was definitely what happened to me, because of all the things he talked about and showed me. It sort of made sense of the whole past. My whole past sort of made sense to me, why I had to go through all these things, and how it made me into what I am today, and how it's going to propel me into the future, my future self, who I'm going to be in the future. And I also had to go through and obviously the reason he had to cleanse my system, I had to go to the toilet all the time before this happened, was because the fear would have basically would be so intense that I couldn't control my bowels. So I would have basically shit in my bed if it wasn't for that. That's why I had to cleanse the system. And on the way into the ship, I actually asked them for fun, like, are you going to give me an anal probe? And he just answered like really quickly, like, we already did. So yeah, they definitely did that to make, not so I didn't make a mess. But anyway, the rest of the day, I had to go through some really, really intense healings from stuff that happened to me when I was like less than 4 years old. That stuff that I couldn't even remember that it happened, but it defined my whole life. And he talked about these things. I can't go into details because it's kind of personal, but he talked about a lot about this, and then he took me into it, and I had to heal these very deep-seated pains and massive pains. I never had anything like that. It was the most intense pain healing sessions I ever had. Extremely. He actually said to me after the first big healing, he said to me, that's the most pain any being has faced in one sitting. And I can't even describe it. It was like a big anaconda snake, 30 meters long, coming out of my heart area, and it was just pure pain. That's what I had to heal, and it felt like it took like forever, but maybe it only took a few minutes, but it felt like 3 hours, sitting facing that snake coming out. He called it a pain snake that had been curled up in my gut my whole life, creating all sorts of digestive problems and all sorts of stuff. And it's all because of something that happened to me when I was, 4 years old. So it's kind of insane that these things can define your life so much, but that one thing defined my whole life in all these sorts of ways. But anyway, I managed to cleanse it all out in a one big sitting and massive healing session. And then I also had to do one more of extremely intense healing like that later, which had to do with something that happened to me when I was almost newborn. Very early, very extremely deep-seated stuff. And he says that these two things were the ones that blocked your system in the heart and that made you have all this inner rage that you started to have lately. It's because you came so close, so deep in yourself that you started facing these things finally, and it created all the rage you felt inside. So after these things were gone, my whole life has now changed. I mean, I'm a completely different person. I can't even describe it. And anyway, the next night I had to go through a similar cleansing. Like, they took me into the UFO 3 times, because he said this is just to finish off, to give you a whole system an extremely thorough cleanse. So they lifted me into the UFO 3 times, and I thought at this point that if I succeeded, I was going to be able to meet them and be with them and everything. But that whole thing was just a setup. They said that to make it look like I was going to meet them, so I had like a proper motivation to go through all the deep cleansing, because I realized after that I was never supposed to really meet them, because we're not at that level yet. But believing that made me extremely motivated to manage my fear, as they adopted me into the UFO 3 times and let me stay in that extremely high vibration, which feels like your whole system is being fried energetically, because it's so extremely intense. And I was basically stripped down to what I called the fear of death. That was only fear I had left in the system at that point. And then I was back in bed, and they sort of, I could still talk to them, but I wanted to sleep because I hadn't slept for days. The last night I didn't sleep at all. I was extremely exhausted and tired, so I just they were basically leaving, because I realized, okay, they came, this wasn't about me meeting them at this point, this was just to clean me out, my whole system. And then I just luckily I had some sleeping pills, so I took a couple of those just to crash completely, and the next morning I wake up, or the next day I wake up, my whole system is just very different. I can feel massive changes inside. It's like they've taken away the foundation of my whole personality setup, and now it's all collapsing or being cleansed out as we speak, as I integrate the whole thing. And they said it could take up to 6 months to a year to integrate what they did. So that happened to me back in November, and I was told that it was going to happen to millions of beings. I was the first one they approached, they said, but millions of people are going to go through similar things, but not necessarily exactly the same, because everybody has different personality makeups and different fears, and they have to take that into consideration when they approach each individual case. And they even said that some of my best friends are going to be the next ones in line to go through this. And they even named one of them, and within a week after I went through it, he started having really strange experiences himself, which he never had before. So that confirmed that they were now working on him. And they said millions of people are going to go through this, and look, in 6 months from now, which would be around this time, in April, May, stuff is going to really start to happen, and you will become a traveling teacher in the country you live, because it's going to be really busy times. And I can see now what I mean, because what is really going on with this virus, let's get to that now, the corona thing. The coronavirus is like a lens. It's a lens we're all passing through at this time. And depending on your level of consciousness, that depends on how you view the whole thing, and also how you come out on the other side of that lens. If you see on the cover of the Dark Side of the Moon album, there is a lens where white light goes into the lens, and then it splits into all the different colors of the rainbow. And that's what's happening now, because this virus is like the lens. You can see anything you want in it. People who live of a lower level of consciousness, who live in the 3D reality only, they see fear and doom and gloom and only negativity with this. That they think it's a big horrible thing. But the truth is that if you look from a higher perspective, it's actually a good thing. And realistically, it's only killing very few people compared to what the regular flu kills every year. Regular flu kills like 500,000 and more every single year. And this corona thing has only killed like, I don't know, 40, 50,000. So it's like a lot less up to this point than regular flu. So why don't we shut down the whole world every year because of regular flu, right? But anyway, the point is that people can see anything in this coronavirus and this shutdown, and that's the whole point. And the level of consciousness you move through the lens with is going to determine if you ascend or descend, or when everything splits up. It depends on your level of consciousness where you're going, what reality you will end up in on the other side. But Bashar said that this year is extremely important, because it will determine how the rest of your life will be determined by this, basically, because you're going through this lens, and then if you have a low level of consciousness, you will not ascend, you will descend, or go into that negative doom and gloom reality. And if you have a higher level of consciousness, I like to think above 330, that's the threshold. You have to be at 330 or above on the scale of consciousness to ascend, go into the ascending reality on the other side. And I believe this is it. This 2020 is the year of mass ascension, at least the first big massive milestone or step, and nothing is going to be the same when this is over. And Trump is talking about it also. He's talking a lot about fighting the invisible enemy, and he's double speaking on all the press conferences now. He's double speaking. It looks like he's talking about the virus, but at the same time he's talking about fighting and defeating this invisible enemy. And that's at the same time you have at least 30,000 troops from the US in Europe, deployed in Europe, and the rumor is, and all the channelings, and these people are saying that this is the mass arrests going on or happening right now in this month. And intuitively this seems like exactly what is going on. The astral realm, or the plasma reality, or the astral realm, or the dream reality that you visit when you sleep, is also being cleansed up from all the negative beings there. The ETs are cleansing them up at the same time as the people in the world who are worshipping these negative entities are also being arrested and removed from power. That is what's going on. So this is it. This is the year of mass arrest, mass ascension. This is everything we have been waiting for, and this is really starting now this month, April. And April 4th is a massive meditation. Could be potentially the biggest global meditation the world has ever seen, if people participate, as it looks like they will. So I encourage everybody to be part of that. Take a look. I'll link to the script to a website where you can read about it on the description below, and you can be part of this massive kickstart of the new age, or the golden age. Because this meditation you don't want to miss. I think it's going to be, from this point on, from the 4th of April, it's going to be so many changes happening that you will not even be able to believe when this year is over. I think we're going to be living in a completely different reality, so it's really exciting times. And I don't know if I can make more videos than this, but this is a perfect video to wrap everything up for this channel. This has been a nice, interesting experiment from my side to make these videos and talking about my journey and my perspective on things. But it looks like I might be busy doing other things at least for a while. I don't know if I'm going to return to this channel or not. This is going to be my last video. But I was told by this Bashar being, whoever it was who approached me, if it was my higher mind or whatever, but I was told by him that at some point in the future I will make a YouTube channel where I will be channeling him, and that will become a big hit, and that will propel me into becoming more of a famous teacher in the future. But we'll have to see, and I mean, who knows, but that's what he said. So I don't know if that's probably not going to be this YouTube channel, because this channel has a sort of a different theme and vibe, and more, talk about conspiracy, and these things are not going to be relevant in the future anyway. But he said it, yeah, the website and the old channel is still going to be there. It's going to be valuable for some people to find like a historical documentation of how it was before this change and all that. But so my point is, this might be my last video for this channel, and it's a really good wrap up of everything that's been going on with this ascension process up till now. And I'm grateful for people who have been following me, and I will still be able to do consciousness profiles at least for the foreseeable future. As long as you see the PayPal button on the website, you can still order it. But if I can't do it anymore, I will just remove the PayPal button. But for now, I will be able to do it, and you can order it on the website. But yeah, this is it. I mean, this year, this month, this is what we have been waiting for. The mass arrests looks like they're going to happen within this month, starting within April. And I mean, who knows? There's going to be technologies released, maybe not exactly this year, but in the coming decade, in the coming years ahead, it's going to be a massive renaissance of extremely positive developments in all sorts of avenues, technology and spiritually and all these things. And I believe it's going to be a lot more contact between us as human beings and the spirit realm, the spirit world. And you can probably talk to ETs and higher minds and all these things much more easily, and many more people are going to do that in the years ahead. It's going to become much more of a common thing. So what happened to me was like a taste of how things might be in the future, but I mean, who knows exactly how it's going to play out. But at least it looks to me that this is it. And I mean, I'm not trying to give anybody false hope or anything like that, but you're going to have to just wait and see and take it day by day. But everything points for me in one direction, that this is the real deal. This is the big event we have been waiting for, and it's been a rough ride up until this point, and this is like the culmination of it. This virus is the perfect reset button for the whole world. Now everything is calming down. Everybody's at home. There's much less crime and negativity being done all over the planet. And the economy is also going to reset. When we come out of this, the economy might crash. Who knows what's going to happen with the economy? But I wouldn't worry about. I would try to rid myself of all 3D fears like that, and just know that you are taken care of. And whatever happens, they have systems in place, abundant systems, and all these things to take over anyway. And Trump and the white hats, if you follow QAnon and these things, then you saw that they now have taken over the Federal Reserve. Trump has taken over, and the white hats are now in control of the central bank system, which is a massive deal. It's not even being reported in most news. It was in Bloomberg, I think, and Yahoo News. Yahoo News had a little article about it. Trump is now basically the chairman for the Fed, and the white hats, according to Q, are in control of the Fed, which means that they are controlling the whole enslavement economy system, and that is a major deal and a major breakthrough. So I wouldn't worry about these kind of things, but I was told by this being, Bashar, who visited me and talked to me, that crypto, and especially Bitcoin and Ethereum and the Monaco MCO, Monaco token, those three were going to skyrocket in the future. He didn't say exactly when. He said just, it's not in the coming time. I would have to guess it would be when we're finished with all this chaos. So on the other side of this, maybe next year or something, it's going to skyrocket in the coming time at least. So I don't give financial advice. You're responsible for your own actions, but that's what he told me. And I already have invested in these things anyway, so all I do now is buy a little bit more because the price is low. So it's a good buying opportunity, because all the chaos and the virus has collapsed the market. Even though the crypto market has done pretty well compared to the stock market, so people still have faith in the crypto, even in this uncertain times, which is a good sign. But that's up to you what you do with it. You can't, if you want to take financial advice from an alien, that's up to you. I mean, it's not something I would say one way or the other. Is not my business what you do with this information, but that's what I was told. I cannot guarantee anything, obviously, but that I just telling you what I was told from him. So that's it for me. I'm signing off, and I wish you all the best in the very interesting times ahead, and good health, and hope everything is well. And I'll see you on the other side of this pass through, this rite of passage.